how could a person like me or a person who has completed their studies can navigate through this job market?
I mean, the best way to navigate this job market is to...
When could be the best time for me to start preparing for my PR?
I get this question from a lot of people on a daily basis, right? The answer is...
And talking about the CRS score, apart from this French language, what are the other things which I can do to increase my score?
See, the best thing is, you'll have to... The one way of maximizing your CRS score is...
What are the major things that one should have in mind once they receive their ITA?
And there are 4 important documents that you need to be mindful of. Number 1...
Hello guys, this is Sandeep Rajkumar and we're again back with a new podcast. And it's obvious that, we always try to provide some good value out of every podcast we are in. And this time we have Mr. Ajay and he's an immigration... Should I say immigration officer or...
No, I just help people in getting the PR. I am not a lawyer, not a consultant.
Exactly. So that's something unique about him. And the best part is it's an obvious thing that student like me, I'm an international student, of course. It's been like 6 months, I guess, since I came to Canada. I've been hearing this thing called, it's going to be really hard for you to get the PR and have to have a proper pre-planned stuff to get everything done. And I'm really happy that by having you here, I think I can figure out a plan to know how to get the PR and stuff. And you know what? The best part is, as I said, being an international student, the followers who I have in my Instagram, they have a lot of questions. You won't believe me, we have like around 20 to 30 questions, I guess. Solid questions for you to answer.
Bring it on.
Yeah. So it's going to be a very good video. You guys are going to love it. And before getting into the video, as usual, as we do, Ajay, please introduce yourself to the people who are watching this for the first time.
All right. So my name is Ajay. I'm the founder of Maple Assistance. I'm actually in the business of helping people get the Canadian permanent residency without the help of an immigration lawyer or consultant. So I faced a lot of issues when it comes to getting my Canadian permanent residency. And I learned a lot through that. And I felt that it's definitely a learnable skill. It is not rocket science. It's something that a person can do it all by themselves. So I basically educate people on the PR process. That way they get to do the process all by themselves. So this is what I do. This is what I've been doing for a while. And it's been a good 1.5 years here in Canada. So right now I'm working with a lot of international students. So that's the reason why I thought I would answer the burning questions of all these international students. Sure. And thank you so much, Sandeep, for hosting this show. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be a fantastic show. Yeah.
Super. So let's dive into the questions then. So the first question I had, a very common question, even had this in my mind. What do you think of the current situation of the concerning PR thing? Like how is it going on? How people are going to fix it? What could be the best solution to it?
I mean, I'll be very honest in this interview throughout this podcast. The situation right now is the worst, I would say, because people are investing a lot of money. People who have invested a lot of money in terms of their study visas, who are here on studies. So what's actually happening is, these people are not getting a scoop to get their PRs, right?
True that.
So the problem is, even when you have an excellent profile, right? So I still remember a couple of years back, any score around the 500 was considered to be a fantastic score. But at this current moment, I know people, I have my clients at the score of 520 still sitting without getting a PR. So that's how worse the situation is right now.
Wow. That's a very good news to hear for a new student. Anyway, and you know what, actually, recently, since I had this plan of coming to Canada, I heard a lot of people saying that I want to go to Canada, especially in study permit. They want to get in as a student and then finish their studies, get the work permit, work for a while, get the PR. So would that be a good thing, starting with a study permit?
The answer is, there is no definite answer, to be very honest, because for some profiles, coming in as a student would be a very good option, especially for people who are finding it hard. I mean, generally, people who are above the age 30, it's quite hard for them to get to that CRS level score. So studying in Canada would actually boost their CRS score. So for those people, that would be a good entry point. But at the current situation, even if your age is above 30, and even if you're having work experience back in your home country, when you come down here, you have to ensure that you have the possibility of taking your scores beyond 500, 530, 540. And if you know for a fact that, yes, you have that scope of taking your CRS score to that level, then coming into this country on a study permit would make a lot of sense.
Okay, but let's assume my case, okay? I'm 22. I finished my UG. I have no back home experience. So is this a good choice to make? I've done this already, but please don't disappoint me.
I wish I wouldn't disappoint you, but let me throw some facts at you at this moment. It's going to be a hard ride for you. It's not going to be an easy one because, see, right now you're 22, so you're doing your first course. So you'll be taking up your second course probably next year, 2025, and probably you're going to get a 3-year PG work permit. So once you complete 1 year of work experience in Canada, only then you become eligible to apply for PR. Because in order to apply under the express entry process, you need to have 1 year of work experience. Without that, it's not possible for you to enter the express entry pool, right? So the biggest challenge that you would face is when are you going to get your first job here in Canada? Because there are people with a 3-year work permit who have got their job in the second month, who have got their job in the first year, have got their job in the second year, and who have waited for 3 years and not got the job and they have left the country. So it all depends on the job market, right? So the one challenge that you would face is to get a job as early as possible so that you can start counting towards that 1 year Canadian work experience. So, it's a hypothetical question. I wish that you get your job at the Freelancers as you complete your degree. Yeah.
But even if I'm getting a job after my studies, if I'm working for an year, still I don't think I can make it to the CRS score, right? With my age.
See, the CRS score is not constant. It keeps changing. And the way Canadian government is playing around with the CRS score at this point in time, you really don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 months. Forget next 2 years. The next 2 months, what move they're going to make, nobody knows, right? So beginning of this year, we thought that they're going to conduct a lot of category-based draws, and at least people with the healthcare and the IT category are going to get in this thing. And we also expected that, Canadian experience class candidates with a score around the 500 are also going to get the invitations. But that's not been the case now, right? We are shooting this almost in the fag end of May. At this point in time, still people are struggling, right? So we don't know how the Canadian immigration is going to change in the next couple of years. I hope it is in favor of all the people who have invested their money here in Canada on the studies.
Yeah, but you have been in this field for a good time. You have, of course, done your research on this stuff, right? So what do you think? What could be the Canadian government's move in the next 2 years or maybe in the next year?
Okay, so this is a very interesting question and nobody has a right answer.
Of course,
It's just an educated guess that I'm making. But I still remember way back in 2020, during the COVID, when I started my YouTube channel, there was one particular video where I said, right now the CRS score is like around the 450s, 460s, 470s. That is going to come a time where you need to have a master's degree with an 8 and 777 in language, and then there needs to be a time where you have to have a Canadian connection. And now it has come to a point where you need to have back home experience, you need to have Canadian experience, and you have to be in the category in order to get the PR. That's how the whole immigration thing is evolving at this point in time. I really don't know how government is going to play with the PR thing, but one thing is pretty sure, they would try to make the temporary residence permanent, right? So this is something that I believe that the Canadian immigration, the department, the ministers, they're all contemplating seriously. So pretty sure a lot of energy emphasis would be on bringing the temporary residents into turning them into permanent residents. So at least in the next couple of years, I see a lot of scope for people who are in healthcare, people who are in IT, because these two things are high in demand. And they're also going to focus a lot on French-speaking people. So I'm pretty sure there will be a lot of French-speaking people also coming in to Canada. So French is going to play a role.
That's for sure. Because even I heard that if I'm learning French and if I'm scoring a good mark in the exam, I think there's a 50 plus points the status, if I'm not wrong.
The moment you are able to take up a French test, you have TCF, that is another French test called TEF. And if you're able to score a CLB 7 level, then you fall under the French speaking category. And if you have English test as well added to it, then that's going to boost your CRS score like crazy. So having a French score is definitely going to help in the future. So that again, I would recommend you to do French because you have this issue of not having work experience. This can actually help you boost that 50 points.
People with my profile, that is like, you are just in your early 20s, you have no experience back home, you have just done your UG, you're here. It's always better to go for the French.
Of course. It looks like a good idea, obviously.
But it might sound easy. I tried it. The sounds and the pronunciations are so hard, but you got to do that to make sure that it's easy for you to get the PR. That's true. And also just told me that, there's a good possibility for the government to turn temporary residents to permanent residents. That's a good news, not a bad one. But also at the same time, I recently heard that there are a lot of rejections of study visas from India, especially people who are coming from India. What is the reason for that?
See, basically, right now, there is a cap limit on the number of students they are going to bring in to Canada because there are so many numbers. And you might have seen all the backlash on the social media and like the students suffering here in Canada. So because of those things, like there is a cap limit temporarily for the next 2 years. So now they're going to pick and choose the person who's going to come in as a student here to Canada.
Okay.
So if you're trying to apply for a study permit, you have to make sure that the course that you're applying aligns with your work experience back home, or it should align with the course that you did in your undergraduation, right? And you need to have a proper SOP. You need to say why you are applying for this university or a college. What's the reason for you to
Sorry for
take this
interrupting
course?
you, but this was not the case until now, right? Because I heard that.
Used to be the case. It
Okay.
used to be the case. But to be very honest, there were a lot of colleges, there were a lot of universities who are giving admissions in random. Right. So even though you don't have a good SOP, people are still able to, get an admission in a college or a university, and they were here, right? But now Canada is changing the game, rules of the game, right? So you have to be really having a very good profile in order to come in. You have to justify the fact that you can add value if you are studying here in Canada. Only then you're allowed to come in. Otherwise, they are going to chuck you out. Yeah.
So you got to be very serious about your career, what you're choosing.
Absolutely. You have to think twice before choosing any course for that matter, or you should justify the reason why you want to study in a particular university or a college. Unless and otherwise you have this clarity, it is very hard for you to get a study visa approved at this point in time.
Okay. And also, as I said, just like me, there are a lot of people who recently came, even for the Jan intake. So it's been like, again, 5-6 months since I've been to Canada, and I'm just exploring things and getting to know a lot of new things. But genuinely, when could be the best time for me to start preparing for my PR? Should I do it as soon as possible, or?
I get this question from a lot of people on a daily basis, right? So what's the right time to start your PR preparation? The answer is today. The reason why I tell you is because, there are two important things that you need to have in order to start up your PR application. Number one is you need to have your education credential assessment, ECA we call it. And number two is your language, right? And in order to maximize your score, you need to have a CLB 9 level in your language test, right? Not everyone would be able to get that score in their first attempt. So the advantage when you start early is, so now you don't have any pressure of, your work permit or your job or not. You're actually free at the moment. All you need to do is study, right? So along with that, if you are able to tag in your language test, if you start preparing, worst case worst, let's say it's going to take 4 attempts for you to clear. I wish you clear it in the first attempt, but still, just for the sake of the example, let's say you're taking 4 attempts. Right now, you can afford that time. But if you're starting the process late, what happens is a lot of people, what they do, they keep the PR preparation to the last year of their work permit, right? They reach out to me when their work permits are going to expire in the 6 months, in the next 8 months or 1 year.
Not
right?
at all a good thing.
That's not a good thing to do because you're already under tremendous pressure. You're looking at a deadline, right? So you're already under pressure, right? So during the pressure time, it's very hard to perform as well, right? So it's better that you start this thing off a bit early. That way, even if you flunk the first couple of times, you have a lot of time for preparation for the third attempt, and you can give in your best shot and you can get your thing done. And these language scores are valid for 2 years, right? So you don't have to worry whether you'll be able to use it or not. So ideally, my suggestion in your case, I would definitely suggest you to start preparing from now. Maybe take a test 6 months down the lane. That way you have it ready for the next 2 years, and try your luck. Once you're ready with your work experience, then you can go ahead without any hesitations. You can go ahead and put in an application and express entry pool.
Okay, so just a follow-up question to that. So now I want to prepare for my PR, but I have no idea. I have zero knowledge about that. So now I would like to approach Ajay. What could be the steps you would recommend me to do as soon as possible? That is, of course, the language is fine, but being an international student, I can't afford a expensive appointment with the person who's going to guide me, right? So how that works from your business perspective?
How I work with Maple Assistants is all my consultations are absolutely free.
Great, okay.
So I do zero cost consultations for anyone who approaches me. So what we basically do is we have a team.
Okay.
So what happens is that the team will look into your profile. We will evaluate your profile. We will try to understand where you actually stand in terms of the PR process. And we will give you a feedback, open feedback, right? So sometimes people are not happy with what we say because I tell them that, brother, it's very hard for you to get your PR, and sometimes people are not happy with it. But unfortunately, I do what I do the best, right? So my thing is not to satisfy people, but to give them a real, true feedback. And I'm more like a doctor here, right? So when I see a problem, I tell them them, hey, this is the problem. So we evaluate the profile, we see where they stand, and we give them a feedback. We tell them, hey, this is what it is. And if they want to start up the process with us, and then we continue the process. We just start the process with them. That's how it works with.
Okay, yeah. So as you mentioned, this is kind of a doctor kind of a role. We should also make sure that we are being transparent with you as well.
Absolutely.
True that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because see, the information that you give me should be absolutely true. Otherwise, it's not possible for me to give a positive feedback.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you be true with all the facts that you give. So in case when you don't have a work experience, you should say that, no, I don't have any work experience, right? So for the sake of it, if you come up with some kind of a work experience, this can backfire the later stage of the process. So I expect 100% transparency when someone is on a consultation call.
Okay. And what could be the biggest mistakes nowadays, especially these international students are making, which can affect their PRs in the future?
Okay, a couple of things I would say.
Okay.
Number one, I've seen this with some of my clients as well, right? So they come here as an international student and they complete their studies and then they wait for a job, right? They wait for a job that matches their profile. They are not open to taking up any job. But you need to understand something. Yes, it is important to take up a job in your field, but at the same time, if an opportunity throws, right? If you are presented with an opportunity to do a job, which is either a NOC B or a NOC C, tier 3, tier 2, tier 1, then you should be open to take up the job because that is going to add to your Canadian work experience. That's going to add some points when you're applying for PR, right? So the sooner you complete that 1 year of Canadian experience, your CRS score is going to jump.
So could it be any jobs then?
Yeah, it can be a tier 1, 2, 3 job. As long as you're doing a tier 1, 2, 3 job, that gets counted towards your Canadian experience and that's going to add to your CRS.
Where can I get that information? Like which jobs are under tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3?
It's there on the internet. Everything is there on the Canadian website. You don't have to rely on anyone. Cool. Right? You just have to go to the official website of Canada and you can figure out whether this job is a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. The information is over there, right? You just have to do a bit of research and you're good to go.
Maybe let's also provide the direct link to that website in the description.
Yeah, for sure. That can be done in this video in the description as well. Yeah, we can definitely do that. That's one thing that I've noticed with international students waiting to get their ideal job and they miss out on all the other opportunities that's coming their way, right? So this is number one. And number two is, slow to start the process, right? I've seen a lot of people, I have 3 years, now I have just got a job, just completed my studies, let me take some time off and let me start the process sometime later. This kind of an attitude is not going to help, right? So maybe 5 years before it was the case, right? People can aram say take a break and then they can come back in the third year and they can still get a PR. But right now with the competition and the way things are panning out, it's really important for you to be proactive. You need to start working towards your PR as early as possible. Even when you're a student, it is important that you understand the process and you start your basics, you do your basics things right so that when the time comes, you can apply. Right? So you have to be there. Yeah.
Okay. So this could be the major mistakes which can affect my PR, right? Any international student.
Yeah, any international student. That's right.
And also, I have this interesting question as well. Like people out there can relate with this. People who are like me, who are into freelancing, who are not working under that 20-hour limit, would that also affect in the point of view of my PR? Would that be an issue?
See, you can be a freelancer, but the problem is how you're going to show your work experience is the problem. Right? So as a student, any work experience that you do is not going to count towards your Canadian work experience while applying for PR. So your actual work experience is going to start the moment you get your WP, postgraduate work permit, right? So until then, whatever work, that's not going to be counted towards your Canadian work experience. So at that point in time, how you're pacing it really matters. But again, my suggestion is until you get your PR, don't be a freelancer. Try to get a job. 9 to 5 wherever possible, a tier 3, tier 2 job, get a job, be there, work for 1-2 years, build this thing, get your PR, and then probably you can leverage your skills and expertise, and then that would be a ideal time after you get your PR.
So then being a student, especially in student visa, it's better to have that low key play for a while.
Of course. Yeah, because with the way the rules and it's getting stricter each day, so it's really important to maintain that low key, as you said, so that they are not noticing you. So just always try to follow the rules. Don't go beyond, right? So some people say that it is okay to get in cash. Technically they won't be able to figure out, but still it's always better to play safe, right?
True.
Try to abide by the rules. Don't try to go against the rules or don't try to break the rules. So that's best advice I would give.
And talking about the rules, how much do you think this Canadian immigration has changed in the past 5 years?
Oh, drastically. It has taken it's a whole new trajectory, to be very honest, right? So last year, June, they introduced something called as category-based draws. It was never there in the history of Express Entry.
Oh.
Express Entry was introduced in 2015. And ever since 2015, this category-based draw has never been there. This is the first time they are introducing something like the category-based draw, where they give importance to categories like IT or like healthcare or in-demand categories, right? So it is evolving. The Canadian immigration, the whole thing is evolving. And I'm pretty sure this will keep evolving for the next 2 years, 5 years down the lane as well, right? So right now, it looks like anyone from outside of Canada, it's impossible for them to get a PR unless and otherwise they are in the in-demand category, right? So gone are those days when people like me used to get. I came in via the Express Entry process long way back.
Unlucky one, guys. Yeah.
So at that point in time, I'm not into IT. I'm not into this thing. I'm into an educational stuff. I'm educational training and stuff. I was able to get a PR. I was able to come here, but this is not the case right now. People like me cannot come from outside Canada to Canada. It's been very tough for these people. So it's slowly changing. It is changing more towards the in-demand category. So Canada is trying to fill the gaps wherever there is a demand. That's the area where they are trying to fill in people. And I hope that the in-demand category would change in some time as well, because I myself have a lot of people, clients who are back in India, who are in sales and marketing and HR, these professions, trying their best to come to Canada. But at this moment, it's literally a closed door for them. But I hope that in the future things would change. The categories would change.
So we can have some hope then. That's the only thing we can do.
I'm pretty hopeful person. I hope that's the only thing that we can do at this point.
Of course, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had this repeated question from a person. What are the major things that one should have in mind once they receive their ITA? First, for those people who are like me, what is ITA?
Okay. So ITA stands for Invitation to Apply.
Okay.
So once you apply under the Express Entry process, you jump into the Express Entry pool and you have a certain CRS score.
Okay.
And Government of Canada, every 15 days, once they set a cutoff score, they conduct a draw, they set a cutoff score. And if your score is greater than the cutoff score set by Government of Canada, then you get an ITA, right?
Invite.
So invite. You get an invitation. So this is called your invitation. After the invitation, you are given 60 days time to complete the documentation. And there are 3 important documents that you need to be mindful of. Number 1, medical clearance certificate. Number 2, police clearance certificate from every country where you've stayed for more than 6 months. And number 3 is your work reference letters, which will tell you that you are claiming this particular knock code. And it was a paid work reference letter. And the last one is financial proof in case if you are not a CEC candidate. If you're a CEC candidate, then you don't have to show them financial proof if you're having a job offer here in Canada. If you don't have a job offer, then obviously you need to show some funds in your account. So these are the 4 important documents. On top of this, there are other documents as well. But these 4 are the most important documents that you have to be mindful of once you get your invitation. Yeah.
Okay, so does that mean that if I'm getting an invite, it means I've got the PR?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh.
So basically, when you are invited, it's basically you're just getting invited, apply. You are selected to apply for this PR, but the decision will be based on your documentation. So you have to make sure that you're not screwing up on your documentation. So the documentation is the most crucial part of your application, and you have to ensure that you are providing all the necessary documents in the necessary format. That will, everything is properly set and done. Then they evaluate your documents, and if everything is good, then they give you the PR.
So that's when you can actually jump in and help us to figure out.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I tell you what kind of documentation is required for that particular person, and what's the format in which the document has to be collected or drafted. And these are the support that we do, right? So we just share our experience because we have been doing this for a while now. So we have some experience. So we share that experience. We educate people on how this has to be done, and we teach them, right? So how it's to be done. And that's where we come in the picture and we help people out. Yeah.
That's great. And just out of my curiosity, we all know that the job market is so bad right now. Students like us, we are finding it really hard to get part-time jobs. That's in our perspective.
True.
And people after their study visa, even they are finding it really hard to get into a proper job, as you just mentioned.
Correct.
So how could a person like me or a person who has completed their studies can navigate through this job market? What would be the best decision?
I mean, the best way to navigate this job market is to talk to a lot of people and network.
Yeah.
That's the
only thing I've been hearing from day one, actually.
Because here in Canada, reference plays a very, very important role. It plays a major role. So I think you have to be proactive. You have to network with a lot of people, not just online, but offline. You go to a store, if you're able to connect with a guy, it's better you ask him like, hey, where did you do? How did you get into this thing, right? If you're able to see a guy on a part-time job, you'll obviously know who's working part-time, who's a student and who's not, right? When you know that, strike a conversation, have a word with him, ask him to connect to his manager. Try to do all sorts of things, right? So because it's crazy out there right now, right? So it's very hard, I understand, but I think with networking and with proper reference, it should not be that difficult of a job to get into a position at this point in time.
Okay. So just again, a follow-up question to that. I have good skills, but I suck at networking. Let's assume I have good skills, but I'm not able to network and I don't get any reference for a job. Can I survive in this job market, even though I have good skills?
See, there are certain things that I've been telling my clients off late. So if you are from India,
okay,
and if you have been working in India, if you have came to Canada on a study permit, I am asking my clients to always be in touch with the employers back there. And if you can take up some job back in India, at least.
Okay.
Right. Try doing that because it's going to help you maybe on your groceries. I don't know. It might not be a big money, but still it's some money to help you out on your groceries. It's going to help you out on your gas, right? So something is better than nothing, right? So obviously, if you can, don't just look at opportunities here in Canada, right? As a student, when you're here as a student, right? Try to network, try to see if you can get some freelancing gigs outside, right? If you're having that skill set. So I know that you are very good at editing, right? So why not get editing gigs from outside and try to make money from there? Right. So let's say you have your people back there in your home country, and if you can contribute something to them and if you can make some money over there, try doing that. Don't rely just on the Canadian job market alone, right? Because at this point in time, people are struggling. People are not able to get that. What else? What's the next thing? Next best thing to do? See if there is an opportunity outside, right? So there are a lot of websites, to be very honest, and it is really important for you to, hone your skills, right? So we are living in a world where AI is doing a lot of jobs. If you can leverage the skills and if you're able to learn certain skills, right? So you have to be really open when you're coming to Canada. You have to be really open to do a lot of new things, right? So networking, if you're not good at networking, go out with people who are good at networking, hang out with them, see how they are doing it, and start doing the same, right? There is no other option for you. You have to learn certain things for sure, right? So
that's
got to do that.
So networking is one of the
It's key. Absolutely.
important thing that I have to learn.
100%. I would definitely point to that. Yeah.
Great. And Ajay, why do you think the draws are not happening frequently?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. So off late, the immigration minister or from the department, we are hearing that it's because they are trying to do a Canadian experience class draw.
Okay.
We don't know when that's going to happen, but I am pretty sure that the Canadian experience class draw would happen after 3.5 years for sure, very soon. Because I have my own reasons for that. So maybe that's the reason why they are not doing the draws on a frequent basis, right?
Okay.
But I really wish they keep doing it, but I don't know. It's again their choice, right? So I know a lot of people are waiting with a good CRS score, but without the draws, they are finding it very hard. But yeah, it's the way it is, right? So can't complain. Yeah.
Yeah. Ajay, can you please explain me more about the Canadian experience class? Because being international student, I've heard of it, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So Canadian Experience Class or CEC, it actually, for you to fall under a CEC category, you need to have 1 year experience in Canada in tier 3, 2, 1 or 0.
Okay.
So if you are able to get this 1 year experience in Canada, then you fall under the Canadian Experience Class category. The best part is it doesn't have to be from one employer. It can be 6 months from one employer, another 6 months from another employer, or in between that can be breaks as well. If you are able to give a cumulative 1 year work experience, then you fall under the Canadian Experience Class category.
So are we going to have like a low CRS score for that class or?
Yes. So basically in the express entry pool, there are people who are coming, the federal skilled worker category is there. And the second one is the Canadian Experience Class, right? And the third one is the federal skilled trades.
Okay.
Right? When they are exclusively conducting a draw for the Canadian Experience Class category, then the CRS score may not be that high. So naturally it's going to be at least 20-30 points low than the regular. So if at all government has to conduct a Canadian Experience Class draw, I'm pretty sure the first draw, the score itself would be around the 500s. It's not going to be a 520 or 530 or 540.
Which is possible, right?
Which is good because there are so many people around the 500s waiting for an invitation, right? So that would clear a major major chunk of people from the express entry pool. Yeah.
Even at that time, the difference is going to be only like 20 to 30 points. It's not going to come down to...
If they are going to conduct frequent CEC draws, then the score is going to come in drastically down.
Okay.
Even a 470 or a 460 is a possibility if they continue to do CEC draws for 3 to 4 months, right? It's definitely a possibility. And I see that, I believe, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but I believe that this year we would see at least 3 to 4 Canadian experience class draws.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So that's actually good news.
That's going to be a fantastic news to a lot of people, because many of my clients are hovering around that 500 score, right? So there are people with a 498, 502, 505, right? So these people, it's going to be a big bumper price for them when the CEC draw is happening. Nice. Yeah.
Okay. And talking about the CRS score, apart from this French language, what are the other things which I can do to increase my score?
See, the best thing is, you'll have to, the one way of maximizing your CRS score is probably if you are able to get a CLB 10 in your language. When you're taking a IELTS or a CELPIP, if you score a CLB 10, then you max out on that. The other option is to study in Canada. When you're studying in Canada, it gives you 15 points or 30 points depending on the course that you take. The next one would be, again, obviously to learn French. That's pretty much it. So if you're from outside Canada, your age should be under 30, 3 years plus experience in tier 3 to 1, and you need to have a master's degree or a PhD would definitely help though. If you're in Canada, again, the same thing with Canadian experience that can maximize your score.
Okay.
These are the options.
That's good. And since I started this process of coming to Canada, those documentations and those kind of stuff, a lot of people told me that it's always a better and a safer option to go as a student, complete your studies and get PR. So my question is it possible nowadays to get PR outside Canada? Just being in India or any other country.
I told you, right? I think I answered this question. Right now, it's very hard for you to get your PR outside of Canada, unless and otherwise you're from a healthcare domain or in a IT domain, right? The gates are shut, to be very honest, to all the other.
No possibilities.
It's going to be really hard because, see, what's the maximum score that you can get when you're sitting in India? A 481, a 490, that's the best that you can get. But what's the CRS score on a general category? It's 529 at this point in time when we speak, right? So it's impossible for a person in India to get to a score of 529 unless and otherwise he's bilingual and he's able to score, right? Otherwise, it's very difficult.
French thing plays a major role, I guess, right?
Now it's playing a major role. It was not the case a couple of years back. But now it's a deal breaker now. If you can do that CLB 7 in French, it's going to do a world of good to your PR process. Yeah.
Okay, another question. If I'm doing the French test, I'm going to get like 50 points, if I'm not wrong. Do you have a separate class for that as well after doing a French?
Yeah. So you'll have to take up a test and the preparation is going to be really extensive. So I have a client. It's a very interesting story, right? So my client, she was in India. Her age was around 39, 40 at that point in time. She has already exhausted the points. It was impossible for her to get to that good CRS score. But she started learning French during COVID.
Okay.
She had no clue about French prior to that. But during COVID, she got a lot of time. So she started learning for fun. Then she fell in love with the language.
Wow.
And then she started spending more hours on that. And you know what? She scored a CLB 12 in French.
Okay.
That's the maximum in French. So right now, she can converse in French. She can write, read, listen. She can understand and she can speak in French.
Wow.
So what happened was, because of that, she already had a CLB 9, CLB 10 in her IELTS.
Okay.
And in the French, she was able to score a CLB 12 in 3 modules and 9 in 1 module. That took her CRS score above 500, even at that age of 40. We got her invitation. Now she's in Mississauga right now.
That's great.
So this has happened. I'm not telling you that it's impossible, but again, when you talk to her, it didn't happen in the first attempt. It took her 6 attempts to get to the score, but she was persistent.
Exactly.
It was 18 months of hard work and effort. So more than 1,000 hours of preparation, and she had spent close to about 8-10 lakhs on tutors as well.
Okay.
Right. So it's not a joke. Right. But if you're really serious about it, it's worth the investment. Right now we are here.
Okay. And on a very generalized note, please give me a piece of advice to international students, especially on this current state of Canada.
If you are an international student here in Canada, number one, I want you to be really proactive. I wish that you are able to get your job as early as possible. Try to figure out a job at the earliest, leverage your skills, do something, get into a tier 3, tier 2, tier 1 job, Don't worry whether it's matching your profile or not. If it is falling under tier 3, go ahead, grab it, and don't be open to switch your profile as well. I know some of my clients, who have completed something on accounting, who have completed something on finance, working as a personal healthcare support worker, right? You have to be creative, right? So whenever you see an opportunity, you have to be really flexible enough to, fit into that particular thing. Do that and start your application, start your process at the earliest. Don't wait till the last moment, right? So don't pressurize yourself.
I get it. And also, I've heard a lot of people are struggling to get a job right now at this market. Again, the advice goes like, you got a network. That's sort of the key factors. Apart from that, do you have any specific ways of searching for jobs?
Can establish a lot of connections. I think LinkedIn would be a very good space. And not just that, and if you're looking for part-time opportunities, it is better you take a printout copy of your resume and walk into the stores. I know some stores are not going to be open there. They're not going to encourage that. They want you to come online. But at least you will get a first-hand experience. When you walk into these places, you will understand what is expected out of you, right? That is one thing to do all your research sitting at a room, comfort of a room and on a laptop. It's a whole different thing to be on the streets and knocking doors, right?
Yeah.
So I know it is definitely asking you to come out of a comfort zone. But when you do that, I think when you meet new people, opportunity can present itself, right? So it's really important that you get on the streets and try to look out for stuff, right? So it's really important that you do that kind of a homework here.
I completely accept that point. But also the same time, have a roommate. One day, he took out like 25 resumes, I guess. He went to each and every single shop he knows nearby. He went inside and a lot of shops were like, apply on online. That was the only thing they said. And others, they just got the resume and might, just throw it in the trash. The only problem is, there's a lot of competition for a single position, right? If there's a position opening up on Tim's, there are like 600 people applying for that job.
True.
And you can't be unique in that job as well. You can't say like, I can. Everyone is going to be like, I can talk well with the customers, blah, 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 blah. That's how it's going to work. So the only thing, the advice you gave us talking about LinkedIn, I think that might help you. Not in the terms of part-time, I'm not sure about that. But connecting with good people, having a good network.
Absolutely. That's definitely going to help the cause. When I'm there on LinkedIn, and let's say you have reached out to me on LinkedIn, and when I see an opportunity, the first thing that comes to my mind is you, obviously, because you have told me about this. Right?
Yeah.
I know that your skill set matches. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look into LinkedIn, just to figure out where you were, like on the chat or the messages, right? So this has happened in the past.
Okay.
This has happened to some of my clients. So whatever I'm sharing with you today, these are all first-hand things that I have seen personally people doing. So it has happened with people's life. And so I think that if it can happen to someone else, it can happen to you as well, right?
Yeah.
That is a possibility. So being proactive on the social networking aspect is also really important. And another thing that I would suggest people doing is, build a personal brand.
Yeah.
You can be a student and you might be having some kind of a skill set. Try to build a brand around that.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's say you're learning about data analytics. Have an Instagram page. Start talking about data analytics. When 100 people apply for a job, and when you have a page which has these many posts or content, right? And when you're able to link that, when you have a website on your own, then you are definitely standing out of the crowd, right? Obviously, as a HR, when someone is looking into your profile, then you stand out of the crowd. You have already provided, so which means that you're keen in. You are showing some kind of an expertise.
You proved it, actually.
Right? Yeah, you're proving it. Yeah, that's true. So try to build a personal brand, which is really important. It is not just for business, or it is not just for actors or high-profile people right now. Personal branding is really important to each and every person at this point in time.
Yeah. And I've heard a lot of people saying that the influencers market, the personal branding market has met a saturation point, but I don't think so. The reason why this podcast is happening is because I was creating content and he was creating content. We were easy to able to connect with each other, and that's how this was made. So this personal branding is something really powerful. It's going to take a lot of effort and time, but as you said, the results are going to be
absolutely. The results are going to be worth it. Yeah,
that's great. So Ajay, next question. What are the options for people? I think it's an important question. What are the options for people whose work permits are expiring?
Okay. Yeah, I have some of my clients whose work permits are expiring.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, correct. So basically, if your work permit is expiring, let's say your work permit is expiring next month.
Okay.
Wait till 1 week prior to your work permit expiring, and prior to that, apply for an extension. Right? So it's got a fake extension. So obviously it's going to get rejected. But what you're basically doing is you're trying to buy some time, right?
Okay.
And during this time, the good thing is that you are allowed to work. Let's say you're working, you can continue your work.
So how long can I get?
It depends when they reject your application.
Okay.
So my clients have got rejections in 3 months. Some of them have got it in 4 months, right? It all depends.
Okay.
Person to person, it depends, right? So if they are generous enough, they can even give you 6 months. It depends on the government. It depends on the visa officer, to be very honest. There is no set rule that this is how long it's going to take. But it can, even if you get a rejection within a week, then you cannot question them why you have got a rejection. It's as simple as that, right? But at least you're getting some time here. So this is ideally going to help people who are on the brink of getting an invitation, right? So let's say your score is at 515 or 505, which is a very good score. Now till June, you have not got an invitation. So probably in another 3 months, you are expected to get an invitation because the CEC draw is going to happen, right? And then this buffer time is going to help you get an invitation.
True.
The moment you get an invitation, you can actually apply for BOWP, which is called as Bridging Open Work Permit, right? So after you get your invitation, once you complete your documents, you can apply for a BOWP, right? So then you are allowed to work until you get your PR.
Okay.
So there is no problem at all. You don't have to go back to your home country.
Oh, that's great. Nice.
Yeah.
And you can help with that actually.
It's pretty straightforward.
Great,
It's straightforward stuff. Yeah.
That's great. And one more question. Of course, a lot of people still wanting to they're eager to come to Canada, even at 2024. So what would be your advice in the perspective of an PR in every aspect?
Okay. So I mean, Canada, I wouldn't say Canada is a bad place or it's not good. I wouldn't agree with that, right? So, but it's really important for you to do your homework before you take this massive decision, because if you're planning to come here on a study permit, you're investing 15-20 lakhs here.
True.
Right? So you need to have a plan to.
For you, it was 15 lakhs. I think now we are spending more than 25 lakhs because of the GEC.
Oh.
It's $20,000.
It's a lot of investment, to be very honest, right? And not just that, the prices are skyrocketed at this point in time, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of money. You have to be really careful with that. So make sure that you have some back home experience when you come here. Don't come without any experience. Please don't come to Canada because it's really hard. It's going to make your life even more harder. And preferably, if you are in a IT or a healthcare sector, you can come in, right? So other sectors, do your research, try to shift, try to change your occupation towards IT or healthcare. If you want to come in, do something related to that, and then probably you would be able to get into a job. It should be a smooth sail. But please do your homework, right? Don't think that Canada is all good, or don't think that Canada is all bad at the same time. But really important to know where you stand in terms of your finances. What is your plan A? What is your plan B if plan A doesn't work, right? It's important to, right now, the way Canada is going, I think you need to have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? But it's important to have that backup plan, right? Because it's money, right? You're investing money, you're investing your time, energy, and effort here. So there is no point in you coming here, studying here for 2 years, and then going back to your country and continuing that same 60,000 job. You would have lost a lot of money over here, right? So I wouldn't recommend doing that. So please do your homework, do a thorough study, talk to people over here, and then take the decision of coming to Canada.
Okay. So is it easy for the people to connect with you? How is it? Which could be the better way to connect with you?
People can connect with me through my Instagram.
Okay.
And they can connect with me on WhatsApp as well. So the details are there on my Instagram handle.
Okay.
So it's maple_assistants. So they can connect with me over there. And my YouTube channel was not that active for a while. So I'm planning to make a lot of videos right now. So hopefully YouTube will also be a medium through which people can connect with me.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So do you have anything to share with, or maybe a request for the Canadian government?
Okay. One thing that I wish the Canadian government does is, to take care of these international students and people who are on work permits, right? Obviously, they have put a lot of trust in you, the government, and they have come here because they believe that this could be a place where they can achieve their dream, they can get their dream job, and they can live a good life, right? So give them an opportunity, because when a person has got to a score of 510, 520, they have done their best. If they cannot get a PR, then there's no point in them spending, about 40-50 lakhs here in Canada, right? So please be mindful of the international students and their struggles, right? Do something to help them out on their jobs, right? Do something on the housing part. There are a lot of things, yeah. So if I had to talk to the government officials, these would be the things. Do something on the housing part. Do something for the international students who are literally struggling, right?
That's true, yeah.
Something has to be done in terms of jobs or providing them with some opportunities and stuff. So that has to be done. And consider doing CEC draws, and it's a good initiative that the government has taken to convert the temporary residents to permanent residents. Do it in full throttle. Don't give it breaks, right? And even if you want to do a bigger size draw, that way more people can be accommodated, and that way the CRS score can at least come down.
Yeah.
Right. So
That can be beneficial for
that's going to help a lot of people who are stuck with 490s, 480s. These are not bad scores, to be very honest, Sandeep. These are all excellent scores, right? People have given their best to get to this score, right? And if they are not able to get a PR, it's shame on the government, right? So it's really important that they consider these people.
True. And out of your own experience, do you have any clients who are not able to get the PR just because of like 10 or 5 points?
Invitations, yes.
Okay.
Even before this interview, I was talking to you about one of my clients, right? So her score is not at all bad. 518 is a fantastic score. Right, but unfortunately, she has not got her invitation. Right, and her permit has also expired, so she's staying here on a temporary record, right, visitor record. She's staying here on that, but she cannot stay here for long, right? So it's very hard for her to stay here to sustain here for a long period of time. If nothing is working out, then obviously she has to leave the country, right? So her 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs,
that investment at that time
is on God. But again, yes, she can try from India. That's right. But again, going back, coming in, right? So all these logistical issues. So it has happened, right? But that's how it is at this point in time. And I hope that scenario changes in the near future.
That's so. And talking about clients, how do you select your clients to work with?
See, it's very, very, very clear. It's black and white. We evaluate their profiles and we see if their profile can fetch an invitation, right? At this point in time, we are not taking any Tom, Dick and Harry, right? A person who is genuinely capable of getting an invitation or who has got an invitation, who needs support in terms of documentation, we support them, we help them out. Others, we say no, right? We are very particular with whom we work, right?
That's
so
good.
Very straightforward, simple profiles is what we take and what we help with. Yeah.
It's always better to not sugarcoat, give them some hope.
No. It's one thing to play with people's money, and it's a whole different thing to play with people's hope.
Yeah.
Right? You should never do that, right? I make sure that I give them a honest feedback. If it is difficult, I tell them, boss, your profile is very hard for you to get a PR. I tell them, right? I don't hesitate, because it's really important that someone tells them that this is where they are standing, right? So it's really important to do that.
That's true.
So,
and is it possible to process all this documentations and this journey of getting PR alone without any assistance?
absolutely, yes. To be very honest, I tell the same. You don't need Ajay, right? So you don't need anyone to do it. So only thing is that you have to do your research, right? You have to invest some time in understanding the process, and you need to do the research, and everything is there in the Govt of Canada's website. You just have to follow their instructions, and if you're able to do that, you can very well do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. It's not that only I wouldn't say that you should do it with an immigration. I'm not sticking with that notion of you have to do it with an immigration lawyer or a consultant. I'm not against them either, right? If you want to do with them, fine. But I don't see value in investing a $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 on those guys, in terms of getting your support, in terms of your PR. But yeah, it's your decision, but it's not rocket science. It's very simple. Go do your research. Every bit of information is there on the website. You can do this process yourself, right? And if you want assistance, we are there here to help you out. Just to do hand-holding and supporting you on the process. That's something that we do as well.
That's great. And yes, Ajay, so we're almost done with all the questions. Thank you so much. I think to be honest, the podcast might be around 45 minutes. I have gained a lot of insights, to be honest. And I just got to know that, Sandeep, don't procrastinate this. Start the process as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
That is, at least try to learn French, which can help me in future. So that was really a good thing. And I hope you guys might got a lot of new insights and information. And even though if you have any other doubt or any other questions, you can comment down. And also you can contact Mr. Ajay. His Instagram ID, YouTube, and LinkedIn, everything will be pinned down in the description. So that's it. That's the end of this video. Thank you, Ajay. Thank you so much for your time. And thanks for
Pleasure's mine, Sandeep. It's been an honor. Thank you so much for hosting this with me. And
my pleasure.
The best part was you took the real burning questions that people are having, so I was able to address it directly. So it's fantastic. Right? I hope this video would give a lot of insight and value to people who are watching. Yeah.
Cool then. See you guys. Take care. See you in the next video. Bye.